We have hit my favorite time of year. Halloween is my favorite holiday. Spooky season is great. I am a big horror fan, which means I love horror games. Which is why today I have compiled a list of 17 spooky/horror games that you can play on your Nintendo Switch 2 this Halloween season. Now, these games range from actual horror games to spookier vibes and kid-friendly games to even some awesome arcade games that have that Halloween theme. And I own all of these games personally, or have played all of these games personally, so that way I can actually recommend them to you. And there are some other games out there that are worth playing on the Nintendo Switch 2, but I just don't have them. So if you know of any, leave them in the comments below so other people can find them to play this spooky season. But make sure you subscribe for more Nintendo Switch 2 videos like this in the future. But let's get into this list. So I'm going to start this list with one of my favorite games of the year. This game just came out. I just reviewed it on the channel. We're going to talk about Chronos: The New Dawn. This released exclusively for the Nintendo Switch 2, and this game is an absolute delight. It is from Blooper Team, who are masters of the horror genre in general, and this game has this sci-fi, strange, mysterious world that they've developed. So you're exploring a post-apocalyptic Poland, and in this game there are these creatures called orphans that you will have multiple combat encounters with throughout your playthrough. And these orphans are like a virus. And this game deals with time travel, where you will go back in time to try and uncover the mysteries of how this virus and the orphans came to be. And the orphans are these absolutely grotesque and monstrous enemies that you'll have to take down, but they have a unique twist that I haven't seen in a ton of other horror media. And that is that these monsters, if you take one down and you don't dispose of the body properly, the other ones that are still alive are going to merge with them, becoming more powerful and a bigger threat to you. And this game really feels like a love letter to other horror games like Resident Evil or Dead Space, and it combines elements from other horror media as well, like Stranger Things in the form of its sci-fi theme and some of the elements of the actual game, as well as the soundtrack reminds me a lot of Stranger Things. And this game just encapsulates a ton of different elements from different horror media that I absolutely love, and it made for such a fun and unique experience on the Nintendo Switch 2. Now, as far as performance goes on the Switch 2, this game, I won't sit here and lie, it's running at 30 FPS. That's the goal it's trying to hit. However, the reason I say I'm not going to lie to you is because it does dip occasionally. You will have those instances where the game's going to dip below that 30 frames per second threshold that they're trying to hit, and I can safely say that while this is present, this does happen in the game, I did not have my experience hindered at all. I played through the entire game on my Nintendo Switch 2. I hopped into New Game Plus on my Nintendo Switch 2. I've been playing for about 15 to 17 hours at this point of this game, and the frame dips did not hinder my enjoyment at all. And like I said, this is probably in my top 3 games of the year. This game just hit so hard for me, and I cannot recommend it enough on the Nintendo Switch 2. It is just a really great experience. The visual quality is fantastic. The world that they've built is fantastic. It's just a really special horror game. Moving on, we have Outlast, and this is another one of my favorite horror games. I remember when this came out, it was a PlayStation Plus game that you could get for free the month it came out, and I downloaded it and immediately played through all of it, and I loved this game on PlayStation 4. And then it was ported over to the Nintendo Switch, and it runs fantastically there. Actually, when it released on the Nintendo Switch, I replayed Outlast, and then I also played the DLC, which I had not yet played on my Nintendo Switch, and this game runs absolutely beautifully on the system, and it's running really nice on the Nintendo Switch 2 as well. I really enjoy how this game looks and plays on the Nintendo Switch 2. It doesn't really seem like it has any sort of bonuses as far as like the boosted hardware of the Switch 2 while playing it, but it was already such a good port on the Switch 1 that I'm not like upset or anything by it. It's still a fantastic experience. And that leads directly into Outlast 2, which is another game that was ported over to the Nintendo Switch and is running fantastically on the Nintendo Switch 2. And in the same vein as Outlast 1, this game does not have any sort of visual enhancements on the Nintendo Switch 2, but it is running incredibly well because it ran incredibly well on the Nintendo Switch. And these games just cook. They are so good in the horror genre. The way that they use the lighting in this game, as far as you are in these dark environments and you have to use your camera with the night vision in order to see what's actually going on in the world around you, that is such a fun element. Running from the enemies gives you a sense of tension and just a great experience, as far as like, it's not like Chronos where you're fighting the enemies, or like Resident Evil games where you're fighting the enemies. This game, you are running for your life, and it makes for such a fun experience as far as horror games go. Really enjoy Outlast as a series. I'm really hoping at some point we'll see Outlast come in the form of the Outlast Trials to the Nintendo Switch 2. I would love to see that game. I love playing that game on my PC, and I would totally buy it and play it on my Nintendo Switch 2 because it runs fantastically on the Steam Deck, and I can imagine that the Nintendo Switch 2 would be able to run that game fantastically as well. So hopefully we'll see more Outlast in the future over on the Nintendo Switch 2. But as far as the Switch and the Switch 2 are concerned right now, Outlast 1 and Outlast 2 are fantastic additions to your library if you're looking for a good horror game. The next 5 games can all be encapsulated into the same component here. Like, they are Resident Evil 0, Resident Evil 1, Resident Evil 4, Resident Evil 5, and Resident Evil 6. I have tested all of these games personally on the Nintendo Switch 2, and they are fantastic. They already ran great on Switch 1, but certain games in this list, those being Resident Evil 4, 5, and 6, are all running better on the Nintendo Switch 2. It looks like all of them got a 60 FPS boost simply because of the hardware improvement, which is fantastic, and these are awesome horror games in the history of horror in general. Like, when you think of a horror game, I feel like a lot of people immediately jump to Resident Evil, and that is just a great collection of games to add to your library. Like I said, there are other options as far as games are concerned. The games that I don't own from the Resident Evil series are Resident Evil Revelations 1 and 2, as well as the cloud games on the Nintendo hardware. But we did get confirmation that Resident Evil 7 and Resident Evil 8 will be coming to the Nintendo Switch 2 natively, which is fantastic, next year, as well as Resident Evil Requiem, which the demo for that people are playtesting is running really well. So that's pretty exciting that those games are coming in. It looks like they're going to run fantastically. But as far as the games that are available right now, the ones that I've playtested, like I said, Resident Evil 0, Resident Evil 1, Resident Evil 4, and Resident Evil 5 and 6, those are all running incredibly well on the Nintendo Switch 2, as well as the Nintendo Switch, if that's all you have right now. Great games to pick up and add to your library, and they're typically like always on sale. I think they're on sale right now. I just did a video about sales. I don't know exactly, I don't remember how long that sale's going for. You'll have to check out that video, but they're like always on sale for like 10 bucks a pop. So you can get these games relatively cheap and add them to your library, and they are fantastic additions. Next, we're getting into the more kid-friendly, cozy kind of horror games. And not even really horror. There were like a couple jump scares in this game, but Luigi's Mansion 3 is the first one. Now, I love Luigi's Mansion 3. This is easily one of the best Nintendo Switch games that was released. It is so phenomenal as far as the graphical fidelity, the story that you play through, the environments that you experience, and the enemies that you encounter. This game had it all with that spooky vibe. And for me, as a horror fan, it doesn't have to be a game that is just outright gory and horror, like monsters coming after you. It can be something that's just kind of in that vibe, very hocus pocusy, or, you know, those more kid-friendly horror movies or Halloween movies that I grew up watching. That's kind of what Luigi's Mansion 3 reminds me of, and why I love that series so much. So if you're looking for just one of the best Switch games to pick up on your Switch 2, or if you have a Switch 1 and you're looking for a great game, Luigi's Mansion 3 is one that is, I cannot recommend it enough. It is literally in my like top list of as far as Switch 1 games go. And that leads directly into the next game, which is Luigi's Mansion 2 HD Remake. Now, this game is a remake of the 3DS game Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon, so it is a bit different than Luigi's Mansion 3, where Luigi's Mansion 3 is that open world experience, and you're able to kind of go through the zones at your leisure. This is a more level-based experience than Luigi's Mansion 2, and despite that, it's still a really fun and charming Luigi's Mansion game. It's definitely different, and you have to be kind of in the mood for that style of game. But as far as Luigi's Mansion 2 is concerned, I still think it's a fantastic addition to your library. I will say I tested it on the Nintendo Switch 2, and it seems like it is running better. The load times were a little bit long on the Nintendo Switch 1, and the frame rate wasn't quite what I wanted, but it looks like the frame rate is running a bit smoother on the Nintendo Switch 2. I'm not sure exactly what it's running at, but it feels smoother to play on the Nintendo Nintendo Switch 2, and all around just a great one to add to your library. Now the next game is a little bit weird because it's not like directly horror themed, but it deals with a lot of supernatural elements, and that's Hellboy: The Web of Word. And this game is really fun. As a fan of Hellboy, I absolutely love this game. I picked it up on the Nintendo Switch. There was a sale going on and it was like $20 for the collector's edition. I've got it on the shelf behind me here actually. It's just a really fantastic game. It's a roguelike Hellboy game that honestly isn't all that challenging as far as the difficulty goes. I'm kind of breezing through this game and it doesn't seem like it has a bunch of difficulty levels to it. It seems like there's one difficulty and that's it, but I'm just enjoying it because it's Hellboy. It has that really awesome looking comic book style. The game seems to be running at 60 FPS on the Nintendo Switch 2. However, it's got that weird kind of Spider-Verse frame rate where like if you turn on the Spider-Verse filter in Spider-Man on PlayStation, the character model runs at a slower frame rate. So that's kind of what's happening in Hellboy, where the character models are actually running at a lower frame rate to give it that comic booky kind of look, but the world around you appears to be running at 60 frames per second, which I think is just a really interesting touch, especially at being that Hellboy is such a beloved comic book series. It feels just very appropriate. I love the art style in this game. It doesn't look visually as good on the Switch as it does on other platforms, but I still just really like the art style, and just the fact that this is a roguelike hits really hard for me. I really enjoy roguelikes personally, so this game just being that is so awesome to me. I really am enjoying my time. I'm finishing it up right now, and I think as far as the enemies that you encounter in this game and the theming of Hellboy in general, battling the supernatural, it's definitely one that fits that Halloween vibe and is one that I would highly recommend you guys check out. Next up, we have Dying Light on the Nintendo Switch, and this is a great port. This was already a really nice port on the Switch 1. It did have some issues. Again, I don't know why people are like, oh my gosh, it runs better on other platforms. Thank you for stating the obvious. We all know these games run better on better platforms. Like that's how it works. We're playing on a handheld device. I don't expect the same graphical fidelity out of my Steam Deck that I expect out of my PC, right? It's just a constant debate. But Dying Light runs great on the Switch, and it runs even better on the Switch 2. I tested it out. It looks like the textures are improved quite a bit on the Nintendo Switch versus the Switch 1 version. The frame rate isn't like entirely better on the Switch, but there's less dips than you'd see on the Switch 1, and I just really enjoy Dying Light as a whole. I've played the game on other consoles as well. I've played Dying Light 2. I really like the Dying Light series as a whole, and the fact that it is on Switch, you can take it on the go with you. It is just a really nice experience, and like I said, I tested this one. It's running better on Switch 2, and I just love this game. It's just a fantastic one to add to your library, especially right now. It's probably going to go on sale. You know, we're in the Halloween season. A lot of these games that I'm talking about right now are probably going to go on sale. So if you can pick up Dying Light, I picked it up for like $8. If you can grab it on a sale like that, totally worth your time. Just a great zombie experience. I love the like nighttime zombies when they just start getting more powerful and freaking out. That is super fun. The parkour is really engaging. I really enjoy the series. Next up, I have Walking Dead, the Telltale series season 1. Now all of the seasons I do believe are on the Nintendo Switch. However, I've only personally played season 1. I played it through with my wife like last year for the first time, and that was a really good time. We sat there, once a week we'd pick an episode and we'd play, and it was such a good experience. This game is fantastic. I'm a fan of the Walking Dead comic books as well as the Walking Dead TV shows, so for me, I was just excited to hop into this, and I got my wife into the Walking Dead TV show, so then we wanted to play this game and enjoy the story, and this is just one of the most emotional stories that I've played through as far as the horror genre is concerned. Very, very emotional series. 5 episodes, lots of fun content packed in there, and this is just a really good time. Yes, it is a Telltale game, so you're going to be mainly watching and then making decisions in like key moments of the story, but the main thing that you're going to be doing is watching and seeing how the story plays out based on the decisions that you make, and I really like that. There is, some sort of gameplay where you're walking around and controlling the main character, but outside of that, it's kind of like watching a TV show and deciding the outcome of the TV show, and I really like that, and it has a lot of replay value if you wanted to change up the people that you save along the way and things of that nature. It can change how the story progresses, and I really like that element as well. And I'm keen to play the other seasons. I have them all on Switch. I just haven't gotten around to actually playing them. So eventually I'll get that done. But as far as the ones that I've played, The Walking Dead Telltale Season 1 is fantastic. Next up, I have Alien Isolation. Now, this is another one that was on the Switch, and it is great. It is a fantastic Switch 1 port. It runs great. As a fan of Alien, I absolutely love this game. It's just gets all the notes right with, you know, going against the Xenomorph, just the way the ship is designed. And it seems like it is running a little bit better on the Switch 2. I don't think the frame rate has improved in any way, but it seems like the load times are much snappier on the Switch 2. The game just all around looks a little bit crisper on the Switch 2, but that's just with my eyeballs. I don't have any sort of tech that's actually like reading the frame rate and doing anything like that, but that's just my experience trying this game out on Switch 2 to test and see how it was performing. But it was a fantastic Switch 1 port to begin with. Really solid game. Really enjoy the Alien series. It's one of the best horror series in my opinion. I really like all the new movies, especially where they're like really diving into like the nitty-gritty details of how the Xenomorphs came to be and things like that. So this game just kind of adds to that enjoyment of the Alien franchise for me personally. The next game that I have are actually included in like a double pack, but you can buy them separately on the Nintendo Switch eShop, which is why I included them as two separate games in this list. Those being Retro Realms Halloween, as well as Retro Realms Ash vs. the Evil Dead. And these are arcade style games that have their own unique story, but then take these iconic characters from the horror franchises that they belong to, that being Michael Myers and Laurie Strode or Ash from the Evil Dead, and they throw them into these arcade games. Each franchise has their own arcade game that you can experience in Retro Realms if you get the double pack, but it's just really fun. It's a classic kind of side-scrolling beat 'em up style arcade game that I just really enjoy, mainly because of the IP that they're attached to, and it has some really interesting elements with diving into this like demon realm. And on the Switch 2, it is running at a better frame rate than it is on the Switch 1. It is running at 60 frames per second on the Switch 2, which is an improvement over the 30 FPS cap that is on the Switch 1. Really solid games as far as if you're looking for just kind of a fun old school style game. These are really fun, especially with the IPs, like I said, that they're attached to. Really cool. Now, I will say that if you buy them on the eShop individually, they are more expensive than if you buy the physical double pack. I got the physical double pack for 20 bucks, and I think that's like what each game is going for on the eShop, if I'm remembering correctly. So it's worth trying to find the physical of this game. I haven't had any issues. I found it at GameStop as well as at Walmart. So you're able to get this game pretty easily, and I recommend picking up the physical because, again, it seems to be cheaper than trying to buy these games individually. The final game on my spooky games list here is one that is coming out this month in the month of October, and that is Little Nightmares 3. I played the demo, which is available right now, and this game is coming out on the Nintendo Switch as well as the Nintendo Switch 2. $40. This game is a lot of fun. I never played Little Nightmares before I dove into Little Nightmares 3 demo, but as a horror fan, I immediately clicked with this game and I really enjoy it. It's more of a cutesy, charming kind of horror game. It's definitely scarier as far as, you know, compared to something like Luigi's Mansion that's a bit more kid-friendly. This has that more kid-friendly art style, but the overall theming and ideas behind this game are definitely quite a bit more mature than what you find in Luigi's Mansion. So don't be fooled by the art style of this game. But as far as how it runs on the Switch 2, it's supposed to come out and run at 60 frames per second. That's what they're advertising. I did not think it was consistently getting 60 frames per second on the Switch 2. However, like I said, I only have experience with the demo build of this particular game. So there's a chance that when this launches fully on October 10th, that it's running beautifully on the Switch 2. So, but regardless of how it was actually performing, I thought the performance on the demo version of this game was fantastic regardless. I didn't have any issues where it was like, oh my gosh, this game's unplayable. I was having a great time with the demo, and I'm really looking forward to the full release. I plan on playing that and having a great time with it. So Little Nightmares 3 is definitely one that you want to keep your eye on in the month of October that hasn't actually released yet. But that is going to do it for my list of the 17 spooky games that you need to try out this spooky season. I hope you all enjoyed the video. Let me know in the comments below, like I said, if there's any of those games out there that I personally haven't played that you would put on this list, so that way other people leave a comment, so that way other people can find those games for themselves if that's something that they're interested in. But like I said, that's it. Be sure to check out the member service if you're looking to support the channel in any additional way. Obviously, the channel is the way that I buy new games and support the channel and keep making content, so any extra support is appreciated. Not a required thing, just something that I like to bring up because you can get additional content out of me by joining the member service. You can also check out Advanced. They are the energy drink partner for the channel here. They have energy drinks, hydration, protein, all that fun stuff is available. I personally love the watermelon lime flavor, and you can get 10% off with code Nico. You see I've got my Advanced Ice Shaker here. I got the protein powder in it right now, having my morning protein shake, and it's just good stuff. I really like it. Like I said, 10% off with code Nico, and it kicks back to the channel a little bit, and I appreciate that. You can also check out the Discord where people over there hanging out, talking Switch and Switch 2 all the time. Just a really chill community, talking about accessories, games, things of that nature. So if that's something that interests you, be sure to check out the Discord. But like I said, that's it. Leave a like, comment, and subscribe for more videos like this in the future. It helps me out, helps the video out, helps the channel out immensely. But until next time, peace.